but you would have the slides like right away. So if you're like, oh, Emily, like, what are you doing? You know, you should be talking right now and teaching us stuff, and I want those slides. Then like get out of here and go check it out on Facebook or on YouTube. And if you want the link directly to it, then just go and message me and let me know that, and I'll send it right to you, and you can just get off Instagram. Okay, so hello to the Facebook world. Let me double check that I am indeed live. Okay, and I'm live. Yeah, cool. So nice to see you all. And I do apologize that I didn't do a wellness journal last week. And you know why I didn't do a wellness journal last week is because I wasn't really using my systems. I've been creating a variety of systems that help me to stay on track in both my wellness and in my business. And first thing I had to do was accept the fact that these were not punishments. Putting systems in place was actually really helpful and was really required if I was going to move forward in a productive and organized way so that I didn't feel overwhelmed by all of the moving parts. So I do have slides, and why don't I just go ahead and open them up right away before I go off into too much of a tangent, which can happen sometimes. So I'll do that right away. The thing is if you've never been ill before, or for that matter, if you've never owned a small business, then it's going to be really scary and you're probably going to kind of suck at it at first. But the thing about sucking at something is that it's temporary. It is not forever. And the more you practice it, the easier it will get. And the more it will be unique to you. At the beginning, you might be sort of like copying others and even sort of taking what I'm showing you here as sort of like a good place to start. But this isn't all that there is, and you can move it forward into the way that you would like it to look, the way that suits you. But the first thing is to create a draft that is going to help you to then take the next step. I don't know where to look. So I'll be looking back and forth and we'll get there. And that's the thing, right? Like, I don't feel super comfortable on this many cameras. I don't feel super comfortable presenting this topic or being myself. I'm going in kind of head first, and I'm just giving it my best shot. And as I've been doing that with these wellness journals, I've been getting better at it. And even if I haven't been actually getting better at it, I've just been getting less nervous, which means that I've been spending less time on worrying about stuff that doesn't matter. So that has been really helpful. So you can see here from the slides that we're talking today about wellness routine. That's going to be different for everyone, and I'm not really here to tell you what my morning routine is or what is best for you. In fact, I don't really do it that way. I went at it in a different way, but that took me some time to get to. I used to have a to-do list as well in the morning. I had my list of things, but then the thing would happen where I would have plans that morning and it would throw off my scheme. So I realized that way didn't really work for me so much, and I took a step back and I reorganized it once again. And during that process, I also really learned to trust myself. we're so harsh on ourselves sometimes. We think, oh, I didn't do anything today. I didn't get anything done. But when we look back and actually take the time to observe how our day went, we might find that actually we did get quite a bit done. So I'll talk a little bit about that in a moment. So yeah, so I think that the first good place to start is to observe how you're actually using your time. So in order to do that, you need to like write it down on paper. You can't just do it up in your head. It's not going to work very well. So I happen to have all of this like extra printer paper. We don't have a printer, and well, it doesn't work. So we happen to have all this extra printer paper. It doesn't really matter. You can use any old paper that you have. Maybe a scrap paper, that would be really cool because then it would be recycling at the same time. But this is what I mean by observing your time. So at first, I just literally was writing every single thing that I did down every day. I would wake up in the morning and I would begin by writing down the very first thing that I was going to do. And then I would go off and do something for 20 minutes, maybe a few little things. And then I would come back to my intentional timesheet and I would write it down. So what was I doing, for those last 20 minutes? It might have been making the bed, brushing my teeth, washing my face, starting the kettle, et cetera, et cetera. So I write all those little things down because they all took time, right? And I rough it out to about 5 minutes per task or, something like that. Something, maybe I'll bulk it together so that I don't literally have to like do every little thing, but I mean, you get the idea, right? So I really was quite meticulous and did observe my time. Now, back when I was doing this for my wellness, like for example, starting a food journal, it felt like a lot. Like, do I really need to write everything down? Well, kind of, yes. Possibly that's a good place to start. And it feels heavy and it feels a little bit restrictive, but if you don't worry about what it looks like or all of it being beautiful or whatever, then you can really just be more casual about it. So that's why I say like scrap paper is no problem, just any old kind of paper. You don't have to have a special book for it. And you can just store it in a place that that you're going to put it back every day, and you're going to grab that pile of scrap paper, that extra piece of paper, whatever it might be, and you're going to be able to carry on with it. So you have to ask yourself, do you value your time? Like, what does time mean to you, right? And what do you want to get out of this time that you have in a day, in a week, in a month, whatever it may be? So if you are unsure how you're spending your time, take time to notice it and decide whether or not you are valuing your time. What is your relationship to the time that you have and to the things that you want to get done? So I, I usually do this from Monday to Friday. On Saturday and Sunday, I just let myself kind of have free time, and I trust myself. Again, I know that I can trust myself because I've previously observed how I'm using my time, and I'm able to depend on myself to use my time well. And I really think that a visual aid is good for that, so that you can look back at how you've been using your time. You may notice trends and you may notice favorite little tasks that have you puttering around, have you scrolling, etc. There are lulls in the days occasionally, and we'll need a task to put us back on track. So having it written down, having a visual aid is going to be really helpful. Consistency and commitment to this does help. All right, let's move to the next slide. So the first step, I believe, is observation and checking in with your relationship with time. So observe how you are currently using your time and observe your current relationship to time. Just become aware of how you are distributing your time and energy. Is it even, is it at any point organized or in line with your goals? That's a good question to ask yourself at this stage. Okay. So the second step that I believe will help us to organize our wellness and lifestyle and bring in some balance is intention. So I say intention, but it could also be a goal or a project of some kind. But it could just also be a feeling, like how do you want to feel today? So today I have just the beginning of a cold coming on. So for me, my intention is definitely to take rest, but I also feel well enough to get some work done. So then what I should do is like get my work done so that I can dedicate some time to resting. But what is difficult to do is like, oh, I'm not feeling well. I'll just sort of putter throughout my day and allow myself to relax the whole day. And while I would love to do that, and I think that that's really great if I have the day off to do that, the thing is I may kind of remain in like this work mode all day and then not really ever actually feel relaxed. So here's what I'll say about that. If your intention for the day is to get rest and to refill your cup, then consciously set aside your work for an hour, for 2 hours, for the morning, for the evening, whenever you decide that is. But we're not attempting to do two things at once. We're not resting and working. We're resting or working. So we can always work less, but in a less amount of time then, right? So that we can have the rest of the time to relax and take care of ourselves. So what is your intention for the day? If your intention is to get some work done, then when you are working, you are working. If your intention is to rest and to feel better, then you need to rest and feel better, but you can't do both of those things at the same time. So how are your actions going to reflect your intention for the day? I cannot take care of myself if I'm sitting the entire day on my computer. Maybe I need to go for a walk. Maybe I need to, go take a nap or make a good meal. That might include going grocery shopping. Like, how am I going to take care of myself and make it so that tomorrow becomes a little bit easier and so that I could dedicate more time to work if I need to, and or more time to feeling better. Like if I still need a second day to rest, what can I do today in order to make that happen tomorrow? So just being really intentional with our time and checking in with what we hope to accomplish in this day, in this week, and in this month. You can, if thinking forward too far ahead overwhelms you, then just really think about this moment. And when I say this moment, I might really mean just this 5 minutes. So if you've been sitting there scrolling and you happen to have stumbled across my live and you're like, oh, I really wish I was doing something for myself right now, get off of your phone. You can always watch this later if you want to, if it's how you've chosen to intentionally use your time. But if you're just scrolling on your phone and you already know what you have to do later on today, then go and do that thing. Like, you don't need to be watching this right now, and you shouldn't be, because you need to learn how to value your time. Okay, that's all I have to say about that. So if you're working towards a long-term goal, like, if you're chronically ill, like we're at this for a while, right? Or if you are like me and you own a small business and you're chronically ill, then like you need to break it down into steps, right? And those steps need to be written down and organized and sort of timed out. And something that I really like to do for that is, again, just simple paper resources. I have so many lists and papers and books and notes, etc. I don't really work too much on my phone or on my computer. I do have some things there, but mostly I'm using Canva. to organize things on my computer, and then often I'm printing it out so that I can have it in my hand, so that I can place it somewhere right in front of me. I don't only work on the computer, I also work in person, and I also don't like always thinking that I need to go to my computer or to my phone in order to check in with my schedule. I like it to just have a book. And what's nice about having a book in my case is that I'm able to then share that information with my partner. So then anytime he needs to, he can just look, like pick up my agenda, flip through it and see if I'm free during that time. Now I realize that you can do that also on the computer or on your phone. So if you have a different way of doing it, that's great. And I encourage you to explore the best way for you to organize your schedule and to organize your steps. So if you have a bigger goal in mind, let's say, for example, you want to check out acupuncture. Well, okay, maybe your first step is just looking into acupuncture. And then maybe your second step is practicing acupressure on yourself. So checking in with a couple of locations that might have called to you, doing more research, becoming more aware. And then you might join a chat group or read some reviews about acupressure or acupuncture and start to understand the meridian lines and who's working in your local area doing this, who has received this treatment in your online communities or within your friend and family group, and chat with them about it. Then you might get to the step of booking the appointment. So then you book an appointment. Okay, great, you made it to the last step, but it really required all of those steps to get you there. It might have just been call an acupuncturist and then you never got around to it. What is really going to get you to do that thing that you want to do by next week, whatever it may be? So decide how you can fit these small tasks into your already established schedule. So if my intention is to take rest today, and that isn't something that I normally do on a weekday, then I need to see what can I move around on my schedule in order to do that. What has now become a priority today based on my intention and my unique needs for this day. So if you begin by setting an intention, you will set yourself up to move about your day more intentionally, right? So I always loved this saying. It's sort of like having a ship in the sea at night and him not having his light on. You don't know where you're going then throughout your day, right? And will you make it home, or will you make it to your goal by the end of the day, or your intention by the end of the day? Will you feel like you've accomplished something? So whenever I'm feeling lost in where to begin, I set an intention just for this present moment. And then I can move on to the next moment, and then the next moment, and then the next moment. This gets easier as we do it. We get more intentional with our time. Move to the next slide. So consistency. Okay, so yeah, we do have to do this consistently. Sadly, it will not work if we only do it just once or just once a month. It's like it's a daily schedule, so you kind of have to do it daily. And at first, that sucks. Like at first, it feels like a chore and it feels like a punishment, but you'll get there. And remember, you're doing this for yourself. No one's making you do this. You're doing it because it's helping you. So let it be easy and hold yourself accountable to this first step. And if you can do this and get a handle on what's going on in your life, in your wellness, in your any area of your life, in your career, in your home cooking, in your physical exercise, in your relationships, in your joy, in your spirituality, how are you going to accomplish the various goals that you have in your life? Do you even have set goals? Do you even know what I'm talking about? Right? It's a lot. It's a lot to accept. So then you may have to accept that you're a beginner, that you're new at this, right? Sure, you've been living your life for, however many years, but you could be new to organizing yourself and how you use your time. Our bosses do that for us all the time if we work in a company. Our teachers do that if we're in school. But who's doing that for our free time? Who's doing that for our wellness? Who's doing that for the life that we want to live every day? Who is showing up for that to be a thing on the daily? So if you try one approach and it doesn't seem to be working for you, just try another one. Just test it out. You don't have to throw it out entirely. It might just be that you tweak it a little bit. I want to make an example with that. So when I first started working more with home cooking and taking care of my nutrition, I put together a meal plan. So I used Canva for this, as I mentioned, using Canva as a support tool for organizing things. It was easier, right? I didn't have to lay it all out. They had templates. I didn't have to, rewrite every single meal every time. I could just copy and paste. It made it really easy. But when I first made this, I had 4 weeks and I guess that would have meant like 28 different meals in a month, right? Like who's cook? No, that's not happening. I'm not a chef. Like I don't have time for that. So that didn't work at all for me. It was too overwhelming. I couldn't even read everything. It just felt like I just felt repelled by it. So if your first addition to any type of organizational scheme that you've come up with, whether that be for your food, whether that be for your school pickup or whatever it is, know that the first draft is just the first draft and that you can still make changes to it. And that's another thing that's great about Canva, or doing it with like a system like that, is you can easily make edits without having to redo all of your work. If you don't know what Canva is, check it out. If you want some help with that, let me know. We can do it together, and I can even share this with you, and you can make it your own. So this is just what I wanted to tell you, that previously I had 4 weeks and now I only have 2 weeks. And now a couple of years later, I barely ever use this anymore because I don't need to. I already have now the system more in place in my head because I started with this. So this was really just the beginning stages. If I got, off track, then I can just grab this. Like I still have it really close nearby. It's in my daily book. So anytime that I'm like, geez, I don't know what to get from the grocery store this week, or I don't know what I'm going to cook this week, and easy peasy, right? So on the other side of this meal plan, I have my grocery list. Everything on my grocery list can make all of these meals. It's pretty easy, right? But it wasn't at first. It was really difficult at first, and I didn't want to do this, but now I have done it, and now I feel a lot better for it. So I really recommend being consistent and finding the system that works for you, scaling back if it's feeling overwhelming or like too much, and reflect once again on your priorities and what you are able to get done. Like if I had this meal plan and I was always cooking these 3 meals, then like why do I need the other meals? I don't need them. Maybe I just take them off, right? And then in that way, I feel somehow more successful because I've managed to follow my list that I made for myself. So that is why, and I come back to like the beginning of our chat, why I tend to write things down as I'm doing them rather than working from a list that's predetermined. When I work from a list that's predetermined, let's say it says brush your teeth, wash your face, moisturize, dry brush, floss, etc., etc., etc. And I only managed to brush my teeth and splash water on my face. Well, now I haven't gotten to any of the other stuff. Okay, well, maybe that other stuff isn't actually that important to me. Maybe that's more of like a once a week kind of a thing or an every second day kind of a thing. Well, okay, well, then I write it down every second day when I do it every second day. If I'm intentionally using my time, I don't need a list. I know how I want to spend my time. I know how I can distribute my energy for that day. If you're living with chronic illness, there are days when you will want to spend the entire day in bed. Therefore, you've totally failed at your to-do list. Okay, but what if the only thing on your to-do list is to take care of yourself? And then bingo, you've nailed it. Like you got everything on your list done because it was just to take care of yourself. On the other hand, if you've got a big work day, well, then the only thing on your list was to go to these 3 meetings, and that was it. You no longer checked your email that day. You no longer did your other little daily tasks. They possibly got pushed to the next day. You'll be intentional with your tomorrow's time because you're going to write it all down. I hope that I'm explaining intentional time sheets correctly. And if you're unsure about what I mean, let me know in the comments or you can just message me directly and we can really go over what I mean. But I do actually mean that you will need to kind of write everything down. But it takes no more time than checking the box on your to-do list because you still have to read it. And you would have had to write it down at some point because you're ticking the box next to it being written down. So it really isn't a difference. It's just doing it in a different order than having it predetermined and pre-written down versus doing it and then writing it down. Then you'll notice how you're using your time. And as I had already previously said as well, is if you don't want to write it down, then you probably shouldn't be doing it. Like if I don't need to be checking my phone for the 5th time today, and I don't want to write down that I'm on my phone again, then maybe I shouldn't go on my phone again. And I'll just like rein myself in because then I have to hold myself more accountable to the time that I have laid out for myself. So how are you going to hold yourself accountable, right? And often having these visual aids is really helpful to doing that. So if you have some type of a consistent accountability, yeah, again, like that, ticking that box, having your dedicated piece of paper where you write down your intentional time for that day, that's going to be pretty helpful. So I think we covered it all. I'm trying to, at first I was trying to get these into like a half an hour and then they were like taking like an hour. And then I thought, okay, like bring it back into something more digestible. So that's where we're at the moment. Hopefully I didn't take up too much of your day, and keep in touch with how it's going for your organization within your wellness routine. If you need some support, let me know. If you need an accountability partner, I have goal setting workshops coming up, and we can go over basic wellness routine stuff in one-on-one sessions and throughout our wellness journals, right? So keep coming back every Wednesday if you're finding these helpful, and good luck with it. Okay, this is a workbook. If you would like to have it, let me know and I will send it over to you for free. Okay, bye everyone.